Good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, April 11th. It's time for the monthly planning board meeting. If everybody could stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, one thing before we get started, I just wanted to, Beta who is our consultant, has decided that they're going to move off of residential reviews, and they're gonna concentrate more on the engineering part of their business. I wanted to thank Melissa for many years of her hard work. You know, it was very good to work with you. You were thoughtful. I think you were fair. You know, you didn't screw up, so that's just always good. Yeah, and, you know, I admire all the work that you did, and you were very timely, and I think you've done a great job for the town, and I just wanted to thank you for all your hard work, and all my phone calls at 6:30 in the morning. So, anyhow. Does anyone else have a? No? Okay, just checking.
Just say thank you.
Yeah.
It's mutual. I've enjoyed working here, and I'm really going to miss it. It's a hard decision, but you guys have been great client.
You're gonna have to keep on sending us pictures of the kids, so we know how they're growing up.
Yep,
so.
the Halloween costume picture, sure, yeah.
All right, so the first item on the agenda is a waiver of site plan review approval request for a temporary event tent for Tangerini's Farm. And presenting that would be Linda, if you could just identify yourself. Yep.
Does it matter?
It doesn't.
Wherever you prefer.
I'll stand.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Linda Trizio, and my husband Steve wanted to be here too, but one of us should responsibly stay home with the children, so we decided that was a good call. So we are trying to put up our event tent. We've put it up in the past. This year, there was a request from the building department that we get a plot plan as well as off-street parking diagram and evaluation and whatnot. So we got this request at the end of March, I believe it was. So given the fact that we are trying to open and also that we've put this same exact tent up in the past, we didn't quite understand the need for a engineered plot plan, and it was unfortunate that it comes at this time of the year when we're trying to get the ball rolling. So we had not anticipated running into that, and don't have somebody lined up to do that type of a plan at the moment. So we were asking that be waived.
Okay, so on this, you know, for us, we're in charge of waiver of a site plan. So there was a couple of questions just that, you know, we wanted to run through, which were a little different necessarily than that would be underneath what we would be, you know, reviewing. However, you provided a plan which showed that you have 2 handicap parking spots and with signs, and they are closest to the farm stand according to this letter that you had provided. According on the parking spot regulations, you can fit 130 cars plus the handicap parking lots in the highlighted areas. And there was a map that has highlighting on it it has squares. It didn't print quite as expected. So if you guys look at it, the long rectangle squares are parking, which if you've been over there before, they also park up and down the road. And then you had an additional 50 parking spots, which is off in the cornfield. And from, because I spoke to your husband, he said that you have additional parking for quite a few more vehicles if you wanted to, because you could park them.
We've got some open space.
Right, you have some open space. So that was one thing. you have a thing here from the Architectural Access Board, which, that one was, which I don't even know.
That's more for the select.
Yeah, this is more for the
Yeah.
select board. Oh, okay, this is a select board thing. And also, what was the other thing? There was one more thing. You, oh, yeah, sorry. And the number, minimum, the maximum amount of people for the tent, did you get that from the tent people? Did they have a maximum?
So we have architectural plans
Yeah.
for seating for the tent.
Okay,
Based on the tent itself, depending upon how you seat people, if you're doing like a banquet style, or if you're doing like something like this, like an assembly or something, whatnot, you can obviously fit more if you don't have tables. It's not really something that we do. So we limited ourselves to a 100-person max for our tent based on our architectural designs
okay.
that we have. Those are submitted to the building department as well.
That was the question that was asked, so we're all done.
The,
Perfect.
the tent itself
Yeah.
can fit more depending
Yeah.
upon seating, but we
Okay,
don't want more than that.
okay, no, that's great. So that takes care of that. And the tent itself is, you know, you've got a zillion, you've got plenty of space on the property, so. Does the board have anything else to bring up on this? Go ahead.
I'd have one matter. I just wanted to clarify what it is that we're doing under section 13J of our bylaws. For temporary structures that exceed 500 square feet, we typically grant a special permit based on conditions that apply to temporary structures. So we're basically looking to waive the requirement as outlined in that subsection.
We were waiving a site plan approval for the tent, is what?
So do we still need to go through the special permit review process?
No, not as far as I can tell.
What size is that?
So it's about 1,800 square feet, right? 30 by
So
60?
30 by 60.
No, what size in the bylaw?
So 500 square feet. If it's over 500 square feet and it's going to exist for a period of more than 7 days, it goes through a site plan review process.
Yeah,
For-
so we're
for-
waiving, we're
to
waiving,
grant a special
yeah,
permit.
well, we would be waiving the site plan approval. Am I missing something? I could, you know, just so,
So,
I could be
yeah,
wrong.
I'll just read it. It just says, all temporary structures intended to exist for a period of more than 7 days, including air-supported buildings, must comply with all provisions of the building code, which we were talking about. All structures over 500 square feet in the floor area must apply to the planning board for a special permit. In reviewing applications, the planning board shall consider the following: public safety, proposed maintenance procedures, activities to be conducted in the structure, and any unusual impacts that they may have on like light reflection, things like that. So in granting a special permit, the planning board may require the applicant to submit written materials such as reports, engineering plans, and manufacturer specs to inform them in the review of any proposed structures. So it's treated as the special permit review.
Go ahead.
Question. This is a farm.
No.
Okay? Farms are exempt from a lot of things. And because it is a working farm, I don't think this applies. It's not, we're putting up a tent for a carnival. Okay? It's like a farm stand, you know? And it's a farm. They're trying to make money, run a business, keep the town going, et cetera, but it is a farm, this is a farming community. This is a right to farm community, so I think we're getting overboard here.
Go ahead.
I'm sympathetic towards the fact it's a farm, but the rules are the rules. It's not a tent for shade for the people picking vegetables. It's commerce.
Yeah, I disagree.
2 weeks, Mr. Chair.
What?
When the applicant went to the building inspector this year, the building inspector, who was the zoning official, said that he needed a waiver of site plan review.
Correct, that's what we had, that's what was sent to us, so, you know, we didn't necessarily dig into the, plus they had put it up before, so
Yep.
it really didn't,
So I'm
Go ahead.
comfortable moving forward. I agree that we shouldn't, in ordinary and due course, there's no reason why we wouldn't grant access or ability and permit for them to be able to put up this tent. I'm just curious if what we're doing is waiving this requirement as outlined here.
That's a good question.
We can't
And-
waive that this evening because there hasn't been an application to waive it and the abutters haven't been notified.
Right.
So even if that's what we wanted to do, we can't do that this evening, and that we would have to require the applicant to go through the whole special permit application process.
And if I may.
What-
Go
I
ahead.
know, but this may kind of take the place of that the select board have been working with them on the architectural plan. I mean, I think they've received permitting from the state already, as far as,
Well, I think that was the egress, was this one. Not,
And that, and for accessible toilets.
Can I make a proposal?
yes, go ahead.
Can we allow them to proceed with, under the condition that they'll apply for a special permit within 90 days or something, 60 daes,
Yeah, I
whatever?
guess, I mean, that
So
would
we
be
don't
one-
hold
that would
them
be-
up?
No, that'd be one way to do, no, I don't know, but the thing with that is, I would have to check on that.
I don't.
Yeah, and that would be, right, and that goes into the lawyer stuff there. So on that,
That, well, my question would, our zoning enforcement officer has instructed us that they need a waiver of
site plan
review.
approval, that's all we really came.
So that's
right.
what's in front of us today.
Right.
I think it would go back to
The
Mike's
zoning
office to determine if this special permit,
Right, because,
Necessary.
like I said, all we were asked to do was site plan approval, so that's
Sure.
what we've been
That's
looking
what
at.
he's
Yeah, I mean,
required.
obviously, that was something that is an interesting question, but,
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense to me.
no, I got it. I would say, so I'm fine with doing the waiver of site plan approval.
Yep.
What I
Me
would
too.
say is that that we probably ought to,
we should notify, we should request clarification from the zoning enforcement officer.
well, or we could let him, he's probably watching it right now on home access. But
Because
what
he
I
has
would say-
nothing better to do
What I would
tonight.
say, is that, I think I would leave it to him to determine on his own if he wanted to do that. But we could do either. Go ahead.
You had this tent last year?
Yes, we did.
Before?
We did not have it the year before, and we
What did
purchased
you-
it last year.
What did you have to do to put it up last year?
We submitted the architectural plan that includes the seating of our current patio seating with the hand-drawn tent area. And then we submitted the aerial view with that outline area of where the tent was going to be placed. And that was what was requested
Right,
last
but
year,
George,
as
with
well
that-
as the architectural seating plans because.
Mike was out last year, so it wasn't Mike that did the review last year. It was his
But we're still
fill.
dealing with a farm that has a lot
No,
more.
no, and I'm just,
they-
I'm giving you background.
No.
I'm not,
What
yeah.
I'm saying is
yeah.
the farm has a lot more leeway on things
Yeah.
than, whatever,
Yeah.
okay?
So what I'm gonna do is, I think since we were asked to do a waiver of site plan review, approval, I make a motion that we waive. Okay, thank you. I make a motion that we waive the site plan approval, so I make a motion to waive site plan approval.
Second. Do you
Motion
want to
is
explain what you're doing before you actually set the motion?
waiver of the site plan approval?
It seemed like there was "and" associated.
No, there wasn't an
Explain
and.
the "and."
No, there was
Okay.
no and, no, there was no and. So I make a motion that we waive site plan approval.
Second.
All right, motion's been
Don't-
made
actually,
and seconded?
Don't you have to invite the public up before you make the motion?
I don't know, we're not in a
Especially
public hearing,
since you
right?
have been,
All right, let's have Scott come up. Come up, Scott. We can wait a
Nah,
minute.
this Scott Feasy, 411 Union, just speak in favor of Tangerini's, and, anybody on this board's been up there, it's really an asset to the community, so I'm glad you're approving it, because I wouldn't want anything to hold up their business. I think the last 3 years, businesses have been tough, and we need to really support this, and they're great to the town and great to the community, so thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
All right, thank you, Scott. all right, so I made a motion to waive site plan approval. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. What I would say is, I think that, you know, that we'll I would leave it for the building commissioner to decide on the other portion that Josh brought up. And I think next year, now that we know, we probably want to make sure that all that stuff is looked at, and, you know, that way, hopefully, that won't be, it'll be in your folder, and you can just pull it out every year, so that'll be taken care of.
Just so I know, is that something that we just directly come to you guys?
The other
Or
stuff-
is that something that we, like, for what
Yeah.
Josh was mentioning, is
So
that something we
We
come?
would have to apply for a special permit. So
Yes,
you
with the
would-
planning board.
yeah. So you would go
Okay.
through the planning board, and you would put in, and whatever he read, I'd have to read that again, because I didn't memorize what he said.
That's okay.
Can you provide her with the
Yes.
statute? with
Yes,
the-
well, I'll either,
Yeah, send it to Camille
Camille
and
will
she can
follow
do
up
it.
and
Okay.
send
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
So that way it'll be set for next year, and then it won't be, you can do it in January, or
sounds
March,
good.
or
I
even
like
January
doing
or
things in the
Christmas.
winter.
We'll get that out of the way.
All
So,
right,
okay?
wonderful.
All right, great. Well, thank you for coming in. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right. Next item. So this is going to be basically, we're going to leave this as a presentation for Emerson Place Phase 1 construction bond estimate. And we received a letter this afternoon from council, and there was some other stuff that we haven't really had a chance to dig into. The way I'm looking at this right now is we're gonna let Mr. Cannon and the developer present, and we can then respond afterwards, via email to go through this after we've had a chance to read everything.
Just take one.
Yep. Thank you. Okay, let's take one, pass it down.
This one.
And on this, Mr. Cannon, although we do enjoy your dulcet tones, if you could, because there's a lot of information here, if you could kind of,
Be brief.
condense it into English language, which lawyers have sometimes a hard time doing. And, yeah, if you could just kind of,
with
just
permission?
for the general public, go ahead.
May I stop you for that
Yes.
comment?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Edward Cannon on behalf of TD Development, the developer in Emerson Place. Bob Fox, the principal, here with me tonight. Sorry for taking so long to pull all this stuff together, getting it to you late. I did want to get it to you. I don't expect you to have read it or to understand it. I do appreciate the opportunity to at least go through some of the points, because we're not asking you to take action tonight. This is in anticipation of next month. So we wanted to kind of get out ahead of it, have a discussion, so when we come in next month, it's not all sort of all new stuff. So we really appreciate the opportunity. I will, so just by way of background, there's sort of, the main topic is the amount of the bond. And so just wanted to have some discussion about the facts here. What's the status of the work that's done? And just to sort of put some context in sort of some of the numbers and some of the requests. So there's 3 phases. The first phase is May Road and the retention basin. So May Road is all but 1,000 feet is done with a binder coat. Yep. And the retention basins the retention areas are done. And so that's a big chunk of it. And then off of that, there's the 2 small cul-de-sacs, April and June ways. That is Phase 2 and Phase 3. But those are at finished grade and graded out as well. So it's really a matter of sort of laying the pipe, paving it over. So a good chunk of some of the real sort of big ticket, there's 4 retaining walls, 3 will be done by the time we come before you in May. And again, so the retention areas, the retaining walls are some big-ticket items as well. So just sort of a little bit of background in terms of, we're not coming in on a blank slate where we don't have any idea of really what the scope of work is and so forth. So there's a good chunk that's done. So just want to consider sort of the use of reclaimed asphalt versus borrowed gravel. The borrowed gravel is generally a bigger ticket item where the reclaimed asphalt is an acceptable material for the surface. And I know that Bob, Mr. Fox, has had some communication with Melissa because the the Mass DOT guidelines on the sort of pricing of the borrowed gravel is not quite clear. Is that sort of an accurate characterization? Melissa, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but sort of they refer to sort of square yards in some
Right.
instances, which.
Yeah, the item that Mass, because typically we go to Mass DOT and look at the last year's worth of pricing and take the median price, because if the town were to go out to bid, which the developer doesn't have to go out to bid for these projects, those are the numbers that we typically, or we do base our estimates on. The reclaimed asphalt is not as common number as your, typical paving numbers, so there's not specs related to them, there's not a depth associated with them, so using those numbers are difficult to apply.
And one just point on that also is that our consulting engineer has to look out for the town's interests. So basically, on this, when they go back and they pull the numbers, it's Bob Fox decides he wants to go off and start farming in Idaho, and he leaves the development behind, we need to be able to finish it, and that's why they pull those numbers for, out of the middle, so.
Understood completely. And, Beta has served the town well, and when in doubt, make sure they're erring on the side of caution. And it's just in this, and I don't, because I just think it's worth the discussion, so I don't have hard numbers on the delta, but it's a fairly significant delta. And so I do think that, and I think that hopefully we could get to a point where Melissa would agree on a calculation that could be used that would probably result in a substantial savings in the order of $50,000 or so. So that is just, again, I don't have hard numbers on that at this point, but that's just one item to.
And one other
Sure.
point, with the planning board on this, obviously, we would also defer back to the DPW on, anything to do with the road. So that would be, we would need them, anything that is road and, sewage and drainage, we always refer back to make sure that the DPW is going to accept it when it's all done.
Yeah, so, we'll continue conversations between now and May, and hopefully kind of arrive on some common ground. But that, I just wanted to flag that as a.
We did use the reclaimed on the existing binder.
No, that's fine, I just, like I said, we need to, I need to make sure that it's, I can't speak for the DPW, I never
No,
would
no, I
assume
understand.
to.
Yeah, I just wanted,
Yeah.
we're
No,
not going from gravel to reclaim to save money.
Right.
But we already have reclaimed down.
Mm-hmm.
We want to continue to use it, that's all.
Yep,
So the other item would be a stored material credit, which Beta can't anticipate. It's only up to this board. And so that's not appearing in any of the numbers that have been provided. But we would like the board to consider that. There's about 8,000 cubic yards of loam out there.
so on any of that stuff with, stored materials or, things in place, like you said, the retaining wall, obviously, if the retaining wall is complete, then that'll be a no-brainer because it's done. The stored materials in place, we would need a verification of, the material, by an independent, I can't just say,
The quantity?
Yeah, the quantity,
Oh,
yeah.
that we have the quantity
yeah,
there for?
that's all. If
Oh,
you-
yeah.
Yeah, if you say, I'm just, to be fair, if you say you've got, 8,000 yards, we need,
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
8,000 yards there, and I think we need 687 yards for
Yeah.
it. what's
So,
not.
and that's fine, we
Yeah.
just, that would be
Sure.
something we need
Would
to.
DPW be okay to verify that?
No, I mean, Dan could do that, I think Dan
Okay.
could.
Oh, okay, yeah,
I
okay.
mean, your engineer can do that,
Okay,
we just need to have verification, yes, they have the material there.
terrific, thank you. The next item would be stormwater and construction reserves. And again, this is where the, sort of the facts of this particular development are important in sort of looking at this. Again, it's in 3 phases. And so at this stage, in Phase 1, Beta is assigned a 20% contingency, about $272,000. But again, because of the amount of work that's already been done, and because the money for the developer in the project is on April Way and June Way after the first phase is done. So Mr. Fox is going to have to come back before the board to review the bond amount before Phase 2. He's going to have to come back before this board to review the bond amount in Phase 3. So what we'd like the board to consider is perhaps a 10% contingency at Phase 1. Again, it's just the facts, I don't think a sort of a blanket, well, this is what we've done in other subdivisions, because again, I think this is a unique set of facts for this particular subdivision, again, with the amount of work that's done. Perhaps 10%, and then the board's going to have 2 other cracks at it if, hey, wow, we underestimated there, there's a couple of chances to recapture. And so, we just think that that would be sort of a way to approach the reserves without putting the town at a disadvantage. Again, considering the work that's done and the fact that you're going to have 2 more cracks at establishing reserves. Ideally, it would be, once we get to Phase 3, okay, what's left to get done? And then, based on that, establishing a final reserve amount.
Well, there'd be just 2 points. So number one, we'd have to determine what our risk would be on if there was a reduction on that. So let's say they did all the wetland planting. So this spring comes and we look out and none of the plants come up. And so, that would have to all be redone. So that we would have to understand the risk of how much money that would be to do that. So I think that would be something we'd have to go back to the consultant and have them review that and make sure that, and the other thing is the assumption that we'd have another crack at the other 2 phases of the development. Well, sometimes what happens is, and we've been through the cycles before, the road goes in, things slow down. Maybe the road gets built out, but May and June or July don't get built out for 10 years. So we wouldn't necessarily have that second crack at, maybe just the road goes through and those just don't happen. So we wouldn't have the extra reserve if the wetlands die and the other phases don't go through. So that's something we would like to consider to make sure we have ample or enough to complete what had to happen.
Right, but I think in that instance, right, so if Phases 2 and 3 aren't done, there's really not going to be anything done there, right? It's just going to sit in its present state. So what we're saying is, the first phase would be May Road and the retention basins, where it's basically 1,000 feet of May Road, and then the top coat. And so, yes, if the board would consider that, I understand that completely, but I think if you look at it in terms of, okay, if that happens, we're not going to get to Phase 2 and Phase 3, what will we need to complete Phase 1, which has already begun and mostly done, then, I'm relatively confident that the board could feel comfortable at the 10% range. But again, just the fact that the board would consider that, would really appreciate that, because,
No, I would say,
I get it totally.
I would say we want to be fair. We'd have to look at, is our assumption correct? Or, and then go from there. But, we want to make sure we cover the bases. Go ahead.
Just to add on,
Yep.
as to your risk, the plan is hopefully to pave 500 feet by the next May meeting, the binder. And we're only holding off the 1,000 feet until we finish the retaining walls. In between the retaining walls, it's just dirt and it has to be built up. So the first retaining walls will be finished in another week and a half. We plan to pave that, the binder. And then probably during the month of May, we'll finish the rest, the other binder. We've ordered the curbing, I mean, so all this stuff is in process. We ordered the curbing, and after that, we've got the loan. Well, after that, you have the sidewalks, and it's pretty much.
No, and that's fine. I think it.
So
yeah.
I'm just saying your risk
Yeah.
is minimized because we're in process, and I can provide you with the contract and all that stuff, so you feel comfortable.
Yeah, all we want to do is make sure that, it's when we're all said and done, the town doesn't end up,
Sure.
stuck with anything, so.
Totally wouldn't want that,
Okay.
exactly. And then the next line item, and on the bond, the last item to talk about on the bond, would be just on the wetlands planting and monitoring. All the wetlands planting is done.
The stormwater, which is a separate item, the 40,000.
Yeah, so,
There's
just
two
going
more
back,
things then.
to the stormwater and construction reserve. So there's a 40,000 post-construction cleanup. Would just like the board, again, in considering the reserves required in that phase one, that worst-case scenario, because if we're getting into 2 and 3, we will be back for that. So would also like the board to consider that 40,000 post-construction reserve, that if, with the 10%, there's enough to complete phase one, and we don't ever come back for 2 or 3, that the town, again, the risk will be minimized for the town. So we'd just like also to consider that 40,000 as part of that as well. That was the other point. And then lastly, on the wetlands planting and monitoring, so all the wetlands planting has been done, understood, could have a rain for 40 days and 40 nights, the plants, need to be replanted. So, we looked at it in terms of, it would really just be monitoring that, but again, I think in terms of a contingency, I guess the worst case is every plant has to be replanted. But again, since it's all done, it's all been planted, we'd just like you to factor that into the amount that you.
So obviously, we all hope that it's done and nothing has to be
Sure.
go back.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Stuff happens.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about the stormwater again as far as the HOA work.
Oh, true, yes. The other point on the stormwater, which Bob reminded me of, and the town has had experience with Mr. Fox over at Hickory Hills, is there is an HOA association that's required with a subdivision that will be maintaining the road until it's accepted as a public way, and continuing to maintain the retention basins going forward. What happened at Hickory Hills was there was a huge incentive for the homeowners association there. If something needed to get done on the road, they jumped to get it done because they didn't feel like paying the next winter's plowing bill. So there is a built-in incentive there. There's an HOA, they're gonna be maintaining the road, they're gonna be maintaining the retention basins, and it's in their best interest to get everything ship-shape to be handed over the town for acceptance. So there is that sort of
It's
backstop.
it's
as
sort
well.
of out of our control as the developer. It's the HOA that takes care of the retention areas. And in Hickory Hills, we didn't have one issue. The only issue we had was, we had a couple of drain manholes, a couple of drain pipes they were clogged. But the grass and the retention areas, they were pretty pristine, and there was no issue. So for us, to carry that amount of money for something that's not our responsibility, that will be done by the homeowners association, because they don't want to pay for the plowing, that's what we're asking. And at Hickory Hills, it was $10,000, by the way. That's what was held.
But I think it's a smaller,
Yeah.
smaller. Question on that, Melissa, just, so what would that 40 carry? I'm sure it's not just one thing, it's multiple items, so what multiple items would that be covering?
Yeah, so the post-construction cleanup and restoration stormwater infrastructure, so once all the construction's done, the system needs to be cleaned out in order to, any sediment, as the lots are built and things like that, gets cleaned out before, because the town wants to accept a clean drainage system, not something that's got, silt built up in it. Same thing with the basins, they want to take on, a clean, freshly cleaned system. So that's a chunk of that number, and I don't know when the HOA takes over, if they're
That's my
taking
question.
over that responsibility, for cleaning or not. I'm not sure how that
It's part of the
legally gets.
operation O&E.
Well, I think operation and maintenance is different than a system cleaning to turn it over for ownership.
No.
And whether the homeowners association is taking on that responsibility from the developer.
Right.
Or,
And that would be, and that's just was my question on that,
It
is
is
that.
their responsibility.
It is, yeah, no, I get it, so, but with that, you've got 3 houses there right now. So if the basins are filled with silt, those 3 houses are gonna be responsible for cleaning that out?
Well, we're still gonna be involved as a developer. I mean, we don't it doesn't get turned over to like 50% when you have the amount of people, you know, to contribute.
No, on that, and I'm just gonna ask Ted, go ahead.
At what percent,
I
in
just
your
asked that question.
ownership documents, at what percentage of ownership of homeowners does the homeowners association
Take over.
take
I
over?
think it's
Because-
70%.
Okay, so right now, you've got, so this property is 43 lots,
Yeah,
and
but
you have
what we
3
do is
built.
we let them, we let them manage it. We get it, we allow them to manage it, so we're not responsible for it.
No,
As they
So
go-
you're
go-
turning the management of a property, and I'm not saying this, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I shouldn't say it that way. Is what you're saying, you're turning the management of property that's still under construction? But, I mean, because you still have phases 2 or 3, and you've only have 3 homes there? But,
No, we don't turn it over right
yeah,
away.
it doesn't turn over till 75%.
Well, unless, what happens is they volunteer, the unit owners, residents volunteer to take over the management before that, and we allow them to do it. But the retention areas are all completed, and they have to be maintained.
I'm just saying, my point is that when you say that's not your responsibility, it will be the homeowners association responsibility. Right now, out of,
No, it's
I'm
our
not a
responsibility.
mathematician, so I don't know what 3 out of 43, what
No,
percentage that is,
it's
but
our-
you
no,
still own the vast
That's right,
majority of
it's
the
our
homeowners
responsibility.
association.
So I know what you're saying.
So whether
If
you
the sec-
call it, whether you refer to yourself, whether you refer to it as you, the developer, it's still you, the developer, or you, the homeowners association, because you own the vast majority of
That's
the
right.
homeowners
And
association.
to the long and the short, that it basically, we had the same thought, exactly. So, you know, we have a bad rainstorm, the basins get filled full of silt. We just want to make sure there's a way that would be funded to clean those out, you know.
I think, isn't the 40,000 at the very end? Isn't that for the very end when it gets turned over to the town, the 40,000? Is that for current maintenance? So that's where I'm confused.
No, we should ask the question, yeah.
yeah, no, so in the permit that
Yeah.
the planning board issued for the subdivision, there's a condition that the drainage system be cleaned at the end of the project.
Right.
Before it's turned over, so that's like one thing, but then there's the operation and maintenance plan for
Right.
continued perpetual maintenance, the mowing of the basins, and that is something that is understood to get adopted by the homeowners
So-
association once it's
So that
established.
40,000 is to cover any deficiency in the management before it's turned over to the town, the 40,000. So that's where I'm confused, is it during that period, or is it the very end, the 40,000? Or does the 40,000 get, you know, taken down at some point?
As,
So is the 40,000, do we have to wait till the end for the 40,000, is really my question? To get it returned, so it's not part of the 20%.
I think that it is at the end, but I think it could be lowered as that risk of the site being opened and, or, you know, the opportunity for undisturbed land to get, you know, into the drainage system. Right now, you know, you have catch basins and stuff that are
Yeah.
exposed to
No,
truck.
no, I understand.
Right, so I mean,
Track
with
out and
that,
things like
and so
that,
to
so-
your point, and I got it, you don't wanna hold a bunch of money, I mean, we could work it where that is reduced.
Each phase?
Yeah, I mean, we could, you know, we don't wanna be unreasonable,
No,
but,
that's
you know,
fine, yeah.
we're just managing risk is
Yeah.
really what we're coming
Yeah,
down to,
okay.
and we don't
Yeah, I
wanna.
just didn't understand.
No, and I get it, and we don't wanna hold your money, cause we want you to build the thing, and to do that, you need money, so that's, you know.
Yeah, just to sum up on the bond stuff, this would be the last point that we
Yep.
have on the bond stuff, is we're just trying to find, we don't want the town to stick their neck out, but we're just trying to find a reasonable common area, because if the bond's set too high, then Mr. Fox isn't gonna really have much choice but to get the work done and to get the bond back. And he really doesn't like to do it that way, because, you know, you put the top coat on, you have phase 2 and phase 3 to go, and you have heavy trucks going over that stuff, and it's not a good way to do it. So that's, you know, part of the reason why we're just trying to find some.
And I think part of the thing, of, you know, work in place of, obviously, you know, when when you're get more stuff done, the numbers are gonna go down, and we can verify. You know, part of the thing is, you know, because I've driven by, I saw your, the roadway with the retaining walls are in, and, you know, you had told me before that, you know, most of the material was on site, et cetera.
Today was delivered, the last section.
Yeah. So,
Last
you know,
wall.
all that stuff, we would credit towards
Sure.
a reduction in your bond. It's just, right now, for, you know, snapshot in time.
Sure.
We took a snapshot in time, we said, hey, we think it's about this much. And by the time May comes, now I'd say on that, although it may not be Melissa on that, whoever it would be would probably need 2 weeks to verify, you know, whatever. So, you know, we've got, 2 weeks left in April, and then, so you get a month, and then they would have, whoever's gonna review that would have to be able to go in and verify. You'd have to have your quantity of material certified by, Dan would just have to say, yeah, we get whatever amount of loam or gravel.
So can I ask a question,
Yeah.
because this is a theoretical, I understand the 20%,
Yeah,
but assuming we do all the binder
yeah.
by the next, say the June meeting, let's say the June meeting, and we have a lot more work, do you really need the 20% then, or can that come down then? I mean, it's sort of like the risk is,
I don't know, that'd be a question I'd have to, you know,
Yeah.
we'd have to
I
look
mean,
at.
obviously, the value goes down as the
Right.
work's done and things
Right.
come out, because it's just a percentage of
Yeah,
the total. But what's in the 20% contingency is like engineering services, bid documents, things like that, that the town would then have to do to complete the project. In addition to just the materials and the work, you know, you would need DPW would need some engineering services,
And-
they'd have to.
right, and to be fair, I mean, we do this with, you know, when they did South End Farm, they did all this stuff. So this isn't like we're reinventing the wheel. It's just kind of
you don't
across the
expect
board.
any, we
Yeah.
just,
No, you're
because of
asking
the
questions.
phasing and
Yep.
everything, and we have such a huge upfront cost on this project that we're just, you know,
Yep,
trying
you're
to
just
get the
trying
lowest
to,
point as
Yep.
possible.
So we appreciate you
Yeah.
considering these points for next month. In the last point, I just wanted to bring to the board's attention, we may ask for a minor modification to the decision. We just don't know yet. The portion of May Road that goes out to Rolling Meadows Drive, and that's the other attachment I left for you, that actually goes through 2 lots of registered land. So, on this top.
Have fun with that.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the Yellow Submarine. I'm a little dating myself. Lot 41 and Lot 44. So May Road goes right out through Lot 41 to Rolling Meadow. The decision requires that prior to occupancy, that proper easements be granted to the town for access. In order to do that, we either need to withdraw those lots from registration or have a new land court plan done at considerable expense. So,
You must be a lawyer, I could tell. Reggie, I know you
I've
are.
had my fair share of experiences with land court.
So we filed the complaint to withdraw those lots on December 22nd. All the lenders have assented, there is no other party, everyone's assented. They approved our motion to accept our title exam, that's in. So as of February 24th, we're just waiting for the court to act on it. And
She's waiting for someone to show up at land court.
so, yes. So
We'll accept a no comment,
Yeah,
council.
so what we may ask is, just to revise the decision to, there is a recorded covenant and interesting, you see it's got both registered land and unregistered and recordings on the covenant. We may ask that some of the lots in the subdivision down towards the other end of May Road remain in the covenant as sort of security to be released once either the land court withdraws the land from registration, or if they refuse, then Mr. Fox won't have a choice but to do a land court plan. So there is a way out. We're just trying to find the most economical and quickest way out. And so, fingers crossed, we get action by land court before then, but if not, we may ask for that minor modification, and that's why.
And Ted, if I may ask, could you just real quick give just like a brief overview of the covenant itself? What it
Yeah, so it's a Form 1 covenant, which is essentially any sale of the subdivision is going to be subject to the covenant. It's basically a performance covenant.
Yep.
So with the posting of the bond, that kind of takes the place of the
of the
covenant.
covenant?
And so once the bond's put up, normally the covenant would be released. Mr. Fox is then able to sell lots as they come online. Back a million years ago, the developer used to come in and get partial releases of each lot. Not really done anymore now. It's done with a proper bond post, and it's a better way to do it, frankly, for the towns. So what we're just suggesting, and I had an exchange with town council, who in general thought it was workable. He said, look, it's not my call, it's the board's call, but as long as it's adequate security to make sure that that gets completed, in principle, it sounds good. So I don't want to speak for town council, but it is something that I know that you would want town council to bless, and town council in theory is okay with the idea. We did not talk about number of lots or security. Town council's comment was as long as there's adequate security. So just wanted to introduce that particular wrinkle, so that's not a new item. And if it looks like that may be something we do, we would re-engage with town council in advance of May to try to get town council's feedback for this board at that point. And in our opinion, that would constitute a minor modification. We don't think it needs new public notice. And all we're doing is, for a certain number of lots, they would stay within the covenant, would not be released when the bond is placed until again, either the land is withdrawn or the land court plan is done. So,
That sounds fine to me. You guys know more about that than.
No, it
Yeah.
makes sense, and I apologize. I called you Ted, not Ed. It's been a long day.
No, Ted's good. Yeah, no, that's fine. No problem. Ed, Ted, that's fine.
But yes, that makes sense to me. Thank you for explaining.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, good. Well,
Thank you all very
No,
much.
all good,
We'll
all good
see
stuff.
you in May.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, get that top coat on there, Bob.
See you, we won't see you again?
I'll be around.
She's sticking around for certain projects, just to.
Okay, so
just to-
she'll still be on this.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, we can let you go?
Okay.
And thank you for the once again, or for the last time.
Thank you,
Whichever
Melissa.
it may be. You may be back, you never know.
I think you'll probably see me again.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Beta's, yeah, we have, there's so much going on right now that I just feel like I can't pay enough attention to all of my projects and provide, the service that I have been and that I think everybody deserves, so.
Me calling her at
Something.
6:30 in the morning in her car. in
So
the
that's why
afternoon,
we're losing her.
It's his fault.
Asking you to
20
return the
lashes
phone
with a
call.
wet noodle.
Yeah, no, I'm not running out the door. I mean, we talked about it and I'm here to finish.
But
Whatever.
to follow up on that, we had a meeting earlier with, to do, and you, like I said, this, if you need to go, that's fine, but we did have a meeting, and as across the board between Board of Health, Conservation, we were trying to get a unified company, so it was all one company that did all the reviews, so there wasn't any cross or redundancy, which Beta had been doing, they'd actually gotten to a point where they had done a couple of the boards, so when they did the review for, let's say, Concom, they'd already done some of the stuff that may have been needed for us down the way. So it kind of made it an efficiency, so, for everybody, internally, it's all kind of goes easier for us, and also to be more reasonable for the developers. Not that we're looking to save money, but if we can encourage people to build stuff in Millis, it's a good thing. And we had actually gotten some, I think we'd made some traction on trying to make things more efficient. We had a meeting to try to do it across the boards. It's gonna be a bit of a process to get that far. We have a couple of options for engineers that said that they would be interested in doing it. We may end up as a board, because we're gonna have more of an immediate need, we may have to hire somebody temporarily, just to come on board and, hey, we're gonna keep you on for, 3 months or something like that, until we can get, across the board, a decision made on what firm we wanna try to go with, and, and like I said, I think the goal is to try to make it more unified, to be easier for everybody. But short term, we're gonna have something coming up, we're gonna have to have somebody ready, and it's probably not gonna be ready because of the town meeting coming up and a bunch of other things going on. So we're, like I said, we're in a short-term need, so. We've looked at, GCG, who has done work with, the town, Jim uses them, we've worked with them a little bit on the, DPW project. They came in and helped us out on that, and they were a big help. There's another one, Metro West Engineering, which I've worked with. They are eager, they do Ashland. They, said that they were interested in doing it, and then Mike Gianpietro had a fellow that he had recommended, which I still have to reach out to, but we would be interested in talking to him too. If Mike recommended him, it's definitely worth talking. So we'll have a couple of good options. I think it's really gonna come down to, who's willing to give up their time with their family and their kids and come and sit in front of meetings and, for the long haul part. So that's really what I think where it's gonna come down to, and who's a good fit for us.
And may I just add one thing?
Go ahead.
Conservation Commission is sticking with Beta.
Okay.
The Wetlands Specialist Group is different than Melissa's, and the Conservation Commission has ongoing projects with them for years, so they are staying with Beta. It will be Planning Board, Zoning, and Select Board that go with the new firm
Yep.
for engineering services.
Yeah, that's great.
So that's where we're at with that, so, just as an update for everybody, so. All right, good, well, we're good with that, thank you, Melissa.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
No problem. So-
Can she take her signs?
She can if she wants to.
Was a good moment.
No, we're gonna leave it there, it's just in honor of her, and if she comes back as a guest
We're gonna mount
appearance.
it.
Well, you may be coming for May 9th, correct?
I'm sure, yeah. Like I said, I'm not running,
Yeah.
I'm not running away.
We'll hang on to it for now.
Okay,
Yeah, as long as you, well,
all right, great.
Thanks, Melissa.
all right.
All right, next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes for March 7th. I read the minutes, and they were accurate as noted. So I make a motion to approve the minutes from March 7th as written.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor? All right.
Aye.
I abstain.
Nope, except for one.
Yeah.
Can we set a June date? We have May 9th.
Yeah, that's gonna be, okay, on that one I gotta be careful.
What do you think you have?
I'm on vacation, so I have to make sure that I don't plan one while I'm on vacation.
Let's plan it
No,
first.
yeah.
Our meeting May 9th, so June 6th, 13th.
Yeah, the earlier would be the better.
The
When's
6th,
town meeting?
the town meeting is Wednesday, May 3rd.
We can do it after town meeting.
Well, we have,
Oh, no, no.
we have May.
June.
We have May 9th, yep, and then June 6th, does that work for people?
It works for me.
All right, hold on.
Yes, that's fine.
Planning board, hold on, June, oops, change that date, hold on, 6th. Okay,
That works?
yep, let me just double check here, hold on, sorry. Yeah, I think so, yeah, looks good.
So when are you traveling? When should we be planning the party for your
Yeah,
backyard?
yeah, let's see, we're leaving on the 19th, the 19th through the 26th,
Where are we going?
Portugal,
Oh, nice.
so. Okay, all right, that's everything, all right, good. All right, so, with that being said, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, great, thank you, everybody.
I just have a couple of